How's it going, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about what I think is the best generation for the Ford Mustang, and that is of course the S197, or the 5th gen of the Mustang. Now, I am actually filming this video in anticipation for the release of the 7th gen or S650 Mustang that is going to happen on this Wednesday, I believe, the 14th. So I am obviously very excited for that, and definitely be sure to subscribe down below, click that little bell icon, and turn on post notifications so that you do get notified when I do a video talking about the reveal and everything when that eventually does come out. But starting off and looking at just the 5th generation and a timeline, it started in 2005 and it went to the 2014 model year. And the major facelifts that occurred during this generation were in 2010, 2011, and then 2013. With pretty much the main drivetrain swap just being in 2011. We're going to talk about the drivetrains that came in these different Mustangs a little bit further on the video, so definitely be sure to stick around till that. But looking at the first thing that really separated this 5th generation of the Mustang compared to the previous 4th gen was the design. And looking at the initial design, the main person behind this was actually Sid Ramnarantz. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name, but this was one of the first very successful domestic retro classic designs where the Mustang actually looked like how the original OG Mustangs did back in the 1960s. This generation also took an entirely different approach than the kind of curvy SN95 or New Edge that was pretty much like the cookie cutter design of the 90s to early 2000s when it came to domestic muscle cars. You had the 4th gen Camaro, you had the Firebird, the SN95 Mustang, and they all kind of looked the same. They're very curvy, and in my own opinion, I just think that 90s domestic cars it wasn't really a good decade for American car design, let's just put it that way. But you can tell from the very beginning of this 5th generation of the Mustang that it was an instant success, just like the original Mustang when it debuted back in 1964, because in 2005 just the US sales for the Mustang alone topped over 160,000 units, with 2006 following up and being over 166,000 units, which as of right now in September of 2022, it is still they're still the best 2 years for Mustang sales since when the 5th generation actually did come out. Now, this next little fun fact about the 5th gen Mustang, I actually didn't even believe at first, but I'll edit in a little clip right now of going and scrolling through this list that I found, and I counted it out, and it turns out that there's actually over 140 special editions that were made out of these factory 5th gen Mustangs, which is really crazy. I knew it was a lot, but I thought it was around 60 or 70s maybe. But yeah, it turns out it's 140 something special editions that were just made during this 05 to 2014 era. Now, moving on to, like I said before, the entire the drivetrains or the main drivetrains for these Mustangs. And we're not going to be talking about the Shelby cars really, or any of the special editions. Obviously the GT500 did make a comeback in 07. We had a Bullet edition, we had a California special, we had again a bunch of different special editions. But looking at the regular drivetrains in the V6 Mustangs as well as the Mustang GTs in 05 to 09, they were essentially exactly the same. Nothing really changed. And actually also the 2010 Mustang was exactly the same when it came to the drivetrain too, but they just had a little face swap, and the 2010 Mustang is kind of like the bastard child when it comes to 5th generation of the Mustangs, because a lot of people who went out and bought a brand new Mustang back in 2010 were pretty disappointed in 2011 when, Ford decided to put completely different drivetrains in the V6 and the V8 instead of just having those drivetrains ready to go with the facelift back in 2010. But again, from 05 to 2010, the GTs came with a 4.6 liter 3-valve per cylinder modular V8 engine that made around 300 horsepower. Really wasn't too impressive. And the V6 Mustangs of those same years came with a 4.0 liter 2-valve per cylinder V6. that made around 200 horsepower. Now, if you have been subscribed to the channel, you know that I actually have an 08 V6. It's my first car. I still have it. I don't want to get rid of it. I know it's a V6, but hopefully I can do an engine swap or something in the future. But I really do love the car, and it still is honestly a lot of fun. It's manual. I've had the pleasure to review a 2014 GT500, a 2005 GT, and obviously daily driving my 08 V6. And I do have to say, just the overall simplicity of the Mustangs of these years, whether they're V6s or GTs, do honestly make them really fun cars. Are they the fastest? No. And that was the main complaint. With these years, a lot of people, the general public, was just saying that there's not enough power. Well, Ford solved that solution in 2011 when they introduced the Coyote for the first time. This 5-liter double overhead cam, 4-valve per cylinder Coyote engine was found in the Mustang GTs, and it was still naturally aspirated, but it was making a very impressive 412 horsepower in the 2011 and 2012 model years. Now, we also saw a change in the V6 engines, actually lowering their displacement, going down to a 3.7 liter engine, which was actually more efficient in making power than the 05 to 2010 4-liter V6s. And this new 3.7 liter V6 actually made a little over 300 horsepower and pretty much right around the same amount of power as the 05 to 09 Mustang GTs, which was kind of ironic because there's plenty of videos out there on YouTube of people with 2011 to 2014 V6 Mustangs with, I guess, a couple mods that are out there beating stock Mustang GTs from 05 to 2010, which I think is just a little bit silly. Now, in 2013, Ford brought us the third and final facelift of this 5th generation of the Mustangs, and in the 2013 and 2014 Mustang GTs, it still had that 5-liter Coyote engine. However, the power was bumped up from 412 horsepower up to 444 horsepower. Again, still naturally aspirated, no real major changes, but I think they just tweaked the tuning a little bit, and they actually squeezed a decent amount more power out of those GTs. However, the V6s, I don't think they even had a power bump at all. I think that they were basically essentially completely the same. Now, this latter half, or this latter section, I guess, of the S197 Mustang also brought my favorite Mustang ever made, and I know I said I wasn't going to talk about Shelby's in this video, but the 2013 and 2014 GT500s. This is personally my absolute favorite Ford Mustang to ever roll off an assembly line, and it was also actually the very last Shelby car that Carroll Shelby actually had a hand in building himself before his untimely death. And I was quite fortunate enough to be able to review a 2014 GT500. So that is on the channel. I think I did that like last year. So I'll leave a link on top of the video if you want to check it out, but absolute blast. The car's a beast, and it's the pinnacle of what a Mustang should be in my eyes. But that's pretty much like a very broad history of the 5th generation of the Mustang, and why I think that it's just the absolute best generation. You have the best of both worlds with the modern 21st century. However, it's still very simple, and it's just a working formula. But with the 6th generation of the Mustang coming out in 2015, at least for me, it didn't really have the same feel as the 05 Mustang release. The 2005 Mustang release, and I think the Detroit Auto Show, was extremely important for the brief but yet significant history of the modern domestic muscle car, because after that, in I think 2010 or 2011, that's when the 5th gen Camaros came out again, and again they went from looking like the catfish Camaros to actually looking like old school Camaros again. And then you had the comeback of the Challengers and Chargers. In my own opinion, the 5th generation is not only the best generation of the Mustang, but it's also directly responsible for the incredible surge that we've seen of modern muscle in the past decade or so. But that's pretty much just gonna be it for today's video. Down in the comments below, I want you guys to let me know what your favorite generation of the Mustang is. And also, if you hate the 5th generation of the Mustang for some reason, let me know down in the comments as well too. But like always, thank you guys so much for the ongoing support. If you haven't already, while you're down there, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications, all that stuff. I know it's annoying for me to say, but it really does help me out a lot as a smaller YouTuber. But like always, I hope you guys all have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one. If you enjoyed today's video, click on either of these links right here to watch a similar video from this channel, or click on the little circle link right there to actually subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. I do appreciate all the support, but thank you for sticking to the end of this video, and I hope you have a fantastic day.